The reason why you should be very, very mindful of this particular money mistake is because the fallout from this particular mistake will not just be financial. It could ruin the relationship, not just between you and the person or persons involved. It could ruin even relationship between you, other friendship group, and other family members, and even your parents. Hello everyone, my name is Mabel. Hence, this channel is called Ask Auntie Mabel because on this channel, I provide answers to questions that have been sent to me regarding general life issues or challenges. So, today's video is part 4 of the series of videos that I have been doing, which are to answer a question that was sent in by a gentleman in his 40s who wanted me to share some of the mistakes I made, some of the major or big financial money mistakes I made in my 20s, 30s, and 40s. So, but if you want to know more about, put this video in context, I would suggest you watch the last couple of videos. So you can, I'll put the link in the description so you can follow the series. So yeah, today is it's the concluding part, and it's a part that sometimes people shy away from, but it's a big part of the money mistakes that majority of us make, who are especially from the migrant community, even those who are from this part of the world or who live in the same country with our family. It's still mistakes we made with our friends and family network. So it's a big thing. So the reason I'm going to classify this again in certain categories. One is I'm going to try and put them together. So it could relate to friends, very close friends, and family members. So one of the biggest money mistake we make with our close friends and family members is not setting appropriate boundaries. And another mistake we make as well is putting people who might not necessarily have the right skills and ability in charge of projects. And this could be your personal project. It could be a project that you are embarking on together as a family or as a friendship group. Another areas that will make this mistake is lack of accountability. Our not being able to hold people accountable for the project or things or decisions they have made or when they get things wrong. So I will just say that because of the way this topic is, it's just going to be, I'm going to deal with all these areas concurrently, and it's going to almost be in a narrative form and with some examples that will make it more relatable for people. So to begin with again, I think to get this right from the outset, we must set a budget of what we want to spend for our friends and family network. Many people do this in different ways, and sometimes if we set this budget, for example, when you are making your own income and expenditure budget monthly, try and set something aside that you want to use to support friends and family members, especially if they are back home. Because sometimes you can get carried away. Either you don't spend enough, or you might spend too much and you just spend in knee-jerk reaction kind of way. So but if you actually have a budget for them, then it will make it easier for you to spend. And if that month, at the end of that particular month, you didn't spend it on them, you put it aside, put in a separate account. So you put it aside so that when bigger problem happens, you know you are not out of pocket. You are not going to dip into your credit card or overdraft to meet those budgets. I hope that's simple enough. But one way people do this, I know some people don't believe in doing it that way. One of the ways that people do this is to take their 10% of the tithe. Because for me, I believe that I'm a Christian, and I believe that when God say when we're talking about this tithe is the people in the household of God. And I believe the whole world is the household of God. I know some people don't agree with that principle, but I don't really see the rationale behind giving your 10% to one person who is going to use it to buy jet, and whereas in that same your family circle and friend circle, people cannot feed and people cannot even go to get their children to school, can't pay school fees for their children, can't pay hospital bills for their children. And meanwhile, these are all children of God, and that you have direct access to that you can solve this, you can use this money to solve their problem. Some of us don't really have any other disposable income after even making our own budget. So but I will leave it at that. And please, those of you who believe that, oh, you have a restricted way of paying your tithe, please just don't come for me. This is my own explanation. You can either take it or you leave it. Okay? So then the next area I want to cover is that we always emotionally put people or give people projects. For example, you want to build a house in the village or even the city or wherever you are doing the project back home. You might, instead of doing your due diligence to actually know, test these people with a little bit first and see how accountable they are with it and see how they deliver. So don't just put up because this one is my elder brother and put the person in charge. When you really know that from when you were growing up, that your elder brother does not really have good money management skills. Whereas maybe the younger person in the family that is the very one who is very good with project, who can deliver. So find somebody in your family who you really know can deliver. Be it your own personal project or a project you're either doing for your parents or you are doing together. Maybe you are renovating the family house or whatever else you are doing, or you want to buy a piece of land or other business ventures that you want to really do in Nigeria. And people will always say that it's even best to be on the ground to deliver than yourself. That's when it's done better. So that is a point you need to know. And secondly, when I think the other area of accountability that I think would make a lot of money mistake is when people just say, oh, sister or brother or uncle or auntie, as they all call you now. Everybody's mommy and daddy these days. I want to set up a hairdresser, or I want to set up this small business. And we don't really, even when you tell them, oh, do the due diligence, what have you done, what research have you done about this business, they just give you a kind of wishy-washy kind of approach of things that they have done or research they've done, or they just sometimes they may even beef it up to say it's a good business. And by the time the next time you ask them, a year later, you say, oh, whatever, Antonia or Anthony, what happened to the money I gave you? This also 100,000 I gave you to set up the store in the market. They will tell you, oh, Auntie, now that one you see they talk, that one don't finish now. The season of whatever tomatoes is past, so I didn't have tomatoes to sell anymore. So in the end, I just spend the money. Something now happened. School fees now came up. I used the money to pay school fees. Or the child was sick. I used the money to take the child to hospital and stuff like that. So, but I think it's really good to educate these people to make them understand that this money you are giving them, it's not that you work so hard to get it here, because you have to walk around the clock in the snow or in the sunshine to get that money. But also try and educate them to do a little bit of business plan in a way that talk them through it. There's very simple ways of doing the business plan and say, oh, what research have you done? When Gary is no longer in season or tomato is no longer in season, what are you going to be selling? How are you going to make sure you sell during the sell whatever else is in season, or start selling Gary for that season until the next thing come in season again? Educate them. I think it's really good to, and you need to hold their hands and follow it up. I know some of them don't want to be helped. Some of them will tell you of, I bet, is it because of that money you gave me, do I want to control my life? Things like that. But what I've actually found that helped is that the charity I helped to set up, which is called Bridging the Gap, and it's running very well in my hometown, where small business loan is being given to people, and they come in every week, and they're accountable, they support each other. And I have done a lot of visiting home. When I visit home, to go and support them and hold their hands. We did a lot of groundwork before we established it. I think we are just blessed that we've got people who volunteer to run with it. Initially, a lot of people came forward to when we launched it in 2011, but eventually, because they felt that there was nothing for them, because I told them from the very beginning that they have to work as volunteers. So, but a lot of people just fell by the wayside. So we only have a very few handful who have still committed to the cause and who are very appreciative. But it didn't mean we didn't still have issues. There are people who ended up not being able to pay. There are some people who just were not accountable. There are some women will take and say, oh, my husband took it and used it to say, I want to do this quickly, and never gave it back to them. Some people moved away. So there were still issues, but on the long run, it's still ongoing since 2011, how many years counting. And we have evolved, we have improved, we have changed the module of accountability and how people have to kind of come in groups now to kind of guarantee each other. A lot of systems have been tried and tested in this particular project. So I know this list is not exhaustive, but I must tell you, with time, you sometimes sit back home, you might have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince that will be able to deliver, and the person you can put in charge of good project or things, good ideas that you actually have, or you can work alongside them. With the WhatsApp communication, it's easier to communicate with people. So I just really feel I should just say this in a narrative form and in a realistic approach style, so that people can relate with it. So, and one other thing I said, I think mistake that I didn't make this mistake, but one other mistake I've seen people made is when their fathers or their parents are still living in their houses and being alive, are not really investing in renovating those houses, making their parents live in good places. I think it's one of the things I think we got right, relatively right. So it's really to try and make the home enjoyable for your parents where they are alive. Please don't wait until they are dead before you start renovating the family house for you to do the burial. I know there are cases it cannot be helped when even the parents, your mother and your father, didn't really live in the house. They were living mostly in the city with you, or they were living in a different property from the family house. I understand there are circumstances that might make you have to renovate the family house. But if your parents are living in the house, please, 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 renovate the house and make your parents live in a good house. And also, one other thing I think people get wrong is this idea of when the parents now died, they have to spend an exorbitant amount of money on the coffin and stuff like that. Whereas after a few hours of displays buried under the ground, and people will spend even $500,000 or a lot of money on it. I just feel if that 500,000 or how much you are spending on that coffin, if you actually use it to look after your parents, or auntie or uncle, who is your father figure, your mother figure, they will actually live a good life and actually more appreciate it. And just I really think we really need to debunk this expensive burial thing. I know it's really not the major topic of this title, of this topic, but it's an area that we spend money mistake that a lot of people are making, that I think we should be addressing and thinking of properly. Sorry, I just have to rush this out the way I did it, because it's a very emotional topic and difficult topic to talk about, because you don't want family members or friends to take offense. And especially when you're embarking on businesses with family as well, friends and family members. So be very mindful of how you make sure you write an agreement, that is a proper agreement when you are doing this, when you are any type of business or money business that you have to do. And the watchword is, people will always tell you, if you are loaning money to friends and family members, don't give them the money that you know you cannot afford to lose. On that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed already. And please leave me comments of your views and your opinions regarding things I've raised and your own experiences you want to share with us. So I will appreciate them. And on that note, I will say thank you very much. Goodbye and see you soon.